Dominating performance back here with Boog. You loved everything he had to say. Why?
Listen, I love the messaging because there's a lot going on social media about what he said about we're not here with flash, we're about wins. We're not here for clicks. We're trying to go out and dominate and win the football game. He's talking to his team pregame.
Yep.
And when we're in the locker room pregame, my job is to get my team motivated, ready to go play. I was in the studio ready to go run through a wall, Kev. So he did his job. That's number one. Post-game. Now let's put it in perspective. We did our job today. Let's get ready to learn from it and move on. He never mentioned Colorado.
Nope.
He never mentioned Deion Sanders. He talked to his team. And that's what great coaches do. That's the reason I love it. Now, we may take the comments when he mentions the word flash and clicks, and we'll associate that with Colorado, but he never mentioned their name. He talked about his football team, and he got his team ready to play. Those guys, when they walked on that field, they were ready to go. And I felt that speech. And as a coach, that's his job, to get his team ready.
To your point, too, also, they got Stanford next week.
Yes.
So he's making sure, let's turn the page.
Exactly.
Because that is a classic letdown, especially when you look at the rest of the schedule for Oregon. In a couple weeks, I should say October 14th, they got Michael Penix and Washington. Then they've got Cam Ward and Washington State. And then they've got potentially Cam Rising and Utah. That's coming up in October.
Bigger games to come, and he realized his team is not going to be measured by what they did against Colorado. It was great. The 3:30 window on ABC was outstanding. Everyone across the country was tuned in. But Dan Lanning came to Oregon to win championships. And in order to do that, he's got to go through a tougher road down the Pac-12 with all those teams you mentioned, Utah and Washington State, other teams that they have to play. He knows that. He's trying to get his team ready to go.
Okay, let's go to the other side real quick with Colorado.
Yeah.
We knew that, hey, 3-0, we understood who the level of competition was, right? They surprised a lot of people against TCU as 3 touchdown underdogs. But we had these 2 games circled. That is Oregon and USC because of the physicality on both lines.
Measuring sticks.
What's your concern here when you look at what's going to happen potentially next week? Because then they got to now deal with Caleb Williams.
Well, not even next week, but the blueprint is already out there. Here's how you deal with Colorado. The quarterback is outstanding, but how do you affect the quarterback? The offensive line. They give up 7 sacks today. So you're going to get pressure on Deion Sanders, take away the short underneath throws, especially without their deep threat, Travis Hunter. There's nobody to push the ball down the field. Defensively, run the ball. Oregon rushed for 240 yards today. So the blueprint is there. Now, can other teams copy that? Can USC play that type of defense? We don't know. We'll see. But the blueprint to stop this team is out there. But if you're Deion Sanders, Oregon was the bigger, more physical team today. But here's the most disappointing thing today. Over 100 penalty yards.
I couldn't get over that.
That's the most disappointing.
That's the thing that impressed us at the beginning of the season.
Exactly, because they were well coached. Today, in a big environment, in a standalone with everybody there, they didn't play up to par. Self-inflicted wounds. And when you listen to Coach Prime postgame, I guarantee he mentions the over 100 yards in penalties.
And by the way, another theme, Deion Sanders continues to take a ton of hits. He had 55 hits coming into this game.
Too many.
The most in the country. And now a total, you mentioned 7 sacks today, a total of 22 sacks in the first 4 games.
That's too many, as good as he is. And we all have lauded him all season long. He's accurate, the poise. Pressure will bust even the greatest quarterback here, Joe Montana. It doesn't matter who you are. And Deion Sanders is being sacked over and over and over. And even when you try to throw short passes, Kev, he can't get the ball out of his hands. And at some point, the human body can only take so much physicality and so many hits. And so Deion and the offensive staff, the offensive coordinator, Sean Lewis, they're going to have to figure out a way to protect him. Maybe it's more screens. He won't last all season long with all those hits after hit after hit.
And to your point, you brought it up. He's got to step up a little bit more in the pocket instead of going back.
Help the tackles out a little bit.
Adjustment's going to be made here. Deion Sanders doing everything he can. Meanwhile, Bo Nix was phenomenal. This was one of those games that, hey, everybody's watching. Where are you in the Heisman conversation? Look at the numbers. I mean, like, doing one thing against Portland State and putting up 81 points, okay. It's just being consistent at 85% completion clip. That is insane.
Okay, think about this. I watched him at Auburn. They booed him off the field.
Yes, they did.
He was in SEC. They booed him off the field. And now he's at Oregon, Kel. His deep ball is outstanding. His completion percentage is amazing. And his ability to run this offense, more importantly, the buy-in. Think about what Sam Hartman did at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Bo Nix has done the same thing at Oregon. He's come in and galvanized this team over the last couple of years. Just an outstanding sense of maturation for this young man, going from one situation that was bad at Auburn. Now he's the king of the town.
Yes, he is.
Out of Eugene.
And you could see those 51 starts playing a pivotal role with his experience. Our great researcher, Gil, giving me a little nugget here. 5th game with it. 80% completion percentage at Oregon, tied with Andrew Luck and Jake Browning for the most by a Pac-12 player in the last 25 years.
Doesn't panic, man. When you play a lot of football, you've seen a lot. We're seeing it now with Brock Purdy, who played all those games at Iowa State. We're seeing it now in the NFL. When you play a lot of football, You don't panic. You stay poised. The moment's never too big. And the Oregon Ducks are reaping the benefits to that now from Bo Nix.
Give me something.